and you can see that that second backup really did affect Ricky. Um, whereas for Cam Todd, it seemed that's when he turned it on. Was those last few holes? That's where he got all of those birdies to put himself tied for the lead going into the final round.
Well, what we saw out there is ultimately the eldest veteran of the game in Cam Todd was really one of the guys that performed the best out there. So maybe it was some of that experience, maybe it was some of that just overall knowledge and his game sportsmanship, gamesmanship, whatever you want to call it. When it was all said and done, he finds himself still tied for the lead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very impressive on his part.
Yeah, Kim, I believe he birdied six of the last 9 holes to shoot that round. It was just a great finish by him, and I think it's a good thing to remember for everybody else out there is as you get into tournament play, you can't get down. You can't get down mentally if you still got a bunch of holes to go. I know I was just talking to Miles Seaborn, who was on the second card. He took a 5 on the last hole. Paul took a 2 on the last hole. There's 3 strokes right there. Right now, he's 3 strokes behind Paul. I mean, even that last hole, even if you've had a good round or you've had a bad round, every stroke counts, and that's you gotta hold on to it and value every single stick all the way through the round.
And what I thought was just crazy was just how hot Ricky Wysocki started out this round. We kept talking about it. He was 7 for 7. He misses hole 8, which is one of the easier holes out there, especially for him, I would say. And then, as you said it earlier, the wheels kind of just fell off. I mean, he didn't have a blow-up hole where he took like a triple circle 10 or anything crazy, but the wheels kind of just fell off, and he never really found his groove again.
Well, I mean, he did have circle 5, which is pretty bad out there, especially on the hole that he got the circle 5 on. And the reality is, if he hadn't made a really good putt, it would have been a circle 6. He was super close to handling the next stroke away.
Now, when we heard, and it came in my ear, and I was sharing it with you, I think, for the first time, have you heard any of the other details regarding Paul McBath's finishing hole, other than the fact that it was an eagle, too?
Yeah, well, pretty much as soon as we got off camera, I found somebody and said, did Paul really have deuce the last hole there? So apparently he threw a turnover high-speed driver. It's a 525-foot hole, I believe is what it was. He was able to land inside of the island, and apparently he landed about 100 feet short and got some sort of hovercraft skip. They were saying it was jet flat skip, and it just moved along the ground for 60-something feet to put him right just outside the circle's edge. And now you got to go hit that putt then to make it worthwhile. Of course, he hit that putt to go from probably what would have been the second card to tie for the lead of the tournament.
One thing that I was thinking as I was driving over here, trying to thaw out from today's round, was people like Paul McBath find a way. He put himself in a position he's not necessarily used to being down. When I called him out on the 4th card earlier today, he clarified, he said tied for 11th. But even tied for the 11th is not something that you usually hear associated with McBath, but yet he finds a way to dig down deep, to go out into these conditions today, and to still get it done.
Yeah, and even as we were talking to him during the backup there on hole 9, saying, did you know that Ricky's 7 down through 7? It didn't really bother him. He knew he was shooting good. He wasn't concerned that somebody else was out there. He just thought, I'm going to keep doing what I do. And he finished strong, as he often does.
All right. I'm going to just give a quick check. I know there's a few people giving us some feedback as to whether my mic seems to be working or not. I'd love to know. We did just switch out the cable here, so we want to see if that might help us whatsoever here. And yes, my mic is on. That is another option, is that we could possibly share one good mic if this is not sounding any better for you guys.
2 guys, 1 mic?
2 guys. I think that's
not a good option.
Sitcom? Something like that. Waiting for some feedback as to if that is a possible solution. All right, come on, guys. Give us a little bit of feedback. Anyway, so what else did we see out there in terms of any shakeups? Anything different that you weren't really expecting out there on the top 2 cards, even? Or any other stories maybe that we have?
I mean, I think I think, Eric's a great guy, but I don't think it was surprising that if either he or Zach had fallen way off. I don't think either one of those would have been all that surprising. Zach actually maintained pretty well. I believe he's on the third card going into the final day. Third or fourth card, he's still doing good right there at the top, whereas Eric has fallen way off the pace. I think an interesting story is, and some of the pros are finding out, with Katrina shooting such a hot score, it affects the rating. She went out and played in a comparatively easy conditions. Now, they weren't easy. The wind was... as I woke up this morning at around 6:30, I have a big window right there by my bed, lots of trees in my front yard. I rolled over, turned the alarm off, looked outside, and all the trees were blowing. So even early this morning, there was a bunch of wind happening. So she was still playing in that wind. However, without the delays, without the weather delays, without the backups on the holes, without the rain, she was able to go out there and post a good score, which affects the rating. So that the highest rating in Open, I believe, was 1053, maybe 1047, something like that. It wasn't what you would expect with the caliber of golfers here. You feel like, okay, if Paul goes out and he shoots one off the hot round, that hot round's going to be like 1070 or 1080 or something like that. But relatively speaking, it wasn't that high given everybody that's here.
Well, and I will go on and I will clarify just a few things as you were talking about it. I know you have the stats in front of you.
Correct all of my mistakes.
No, not necessarily correct. Just want to make a few clarifications. You had mentioned the hottest round today was in fact Kyle Webster shooting a 53. He came in and that was a 1051 rated round, so that speaks exactly to what you were saying. Is it's not as high as one would expect with the caliber of players here. Zach Newhouse, when it was all said and done, he had actually fallen off a little bit more than you had thought. He came in ultimately with a 64, which was a 963 rated round. He finds himself tied for 29th place, and he's actually tied with, well, his card mate from today, Eric Oakley. So Oakley came in one stick behind him at a 65. So Newhouse and Oakley went 64 and 65, and they very well may, let me clarify, they are in fact still shooting together tomorrow.
Okay, so
at the 12:56 tee time. So they're going to get another round together.
I think the bottom line is I don't know what the heck I'm talking about sometimes. It sounded good though, right? It sounded like I knew what I was talking about.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what was going on. I'm going to speak up extra loud so everybody can hear me. And as we mentioned, Kyle Webster, a 53, and the only other person that, the person next to him, I should say, was Macbeth's 54. Now, did you get a chance to see any of the scores as to how any of the players actually shook out? We talked about Macbeth's finishing hole, but did you see any other score cards that jumped out at you at all?
I think an interesting thing that happened, so Jared Rowan started out incredibly hot. He was 10 down through the first 12, and he actually came in with a hotter round than he has on the scorecard. He was given a two-stroke penalty after the round because of misplaying a hole. On hole 11, the Billy Engel ace hole from last year, there's a Mando tree. It doesn't really come into play, but the point of the Mando tree is to basically protect people that are throwing back on hole 12. So he said he threw a really good shot, and right when it got over the water, the bottom just fell out and he went into the water. So there's that drop zone right there for the Mando. He threw from the drop zone. Apparently that drop zone is only for the Mando tree. Every other OB, you play it where it went out of bounds. So he played it from the Mando drop zone, which is not the official spot. He played the hole wrong. He was given a two-stroke penalty after the round.
Certainly unfortunate. Maybe we'll be able to talk with him. I'm going to stand up with this one.
So this is one of the cool things I really like about the Glass One Open is this putting competition. Not only do you get to do all of the putting qualifying during the registration time, everybody's picking up their players packs. The putting is going on right in the middle of that. Not only that is you get to do these semifinals at the theater in front of all of the other competitors, and the top 4 pros and the top 4 AMs are going to finish this competition on the street in the middle of the block party tomorrow night. So it's just a really cool environment to be able to go and do this with all these people watching. It's a really cool part of the Glass Blown Open.
Now, I assume tomorrow night you'll be out there emceeing the actual putting competition. I know when I was here for the first time ever last year, I saw you doing just that. That's definitely an exciting part of this week.
Yeah, and well, I think one of our biggest mistakes from last year was it got dark earlier than well, we weren't ready to go after the awards and all of that stuff, and so we got the putting final started late, and it was possibly the most exciting finish that could ever happen. And the video of it is really cool. You can hear the excitement, but you can't see it all very well. So we have giant floodlights coming to the street tomorrow night. So the putting finals, the Ring of Fire, all of that stuff is going to be lit up. Hopefully, Yeti can put on another show. I think he just beat Miles Seaborn in the semifinal bracket here. I believe that puts him in the Final Four. Maybe not just yet. Maybe he's in the Final 8. But it's shaping up to where there's going to be some excellent putters going against each other in the street in front of 1,000 people, cheering and screaming and all of that business. And so it just makes for a cool finish, and I look forward to seeing it tomorrow night under the bright lights.
It should be. And one of the questions we didn't get to last night, I couldn't get to a full answer at least, is why is it called the Glass Blown Open? We know that Eric McCabe had started this event 14 years ago, which a lot of people didn't necessarily know that it was him that did it, but he started it 14 years ago. I believe there was 88 people there, too short of sold out, and now here we are. This is one of the most prestigious and well-known and well-attended events in disc golf history. Where did the Glass Blown Open come from?
There was a local, I'm not sure what the exact, I don't know if it's glass blower, a person that makes blown glass things. I believe his name's Harold Berger. And he was a local artist that was well known, and he made trophies for that first event, glass blown trophies, and so it became known as the Glass Blown Open. So that's why our division winners all received that glass blown ball. We have actually partnered with Bryce Longerbone out of Texas and his company to produce some really cool other trophies. But that glass ball, that glass blown trophy, is the main thing. That is one of the coolest trophies around. And extremely unique, and so that's what that's where the name came from.
All right, well, perfect. We're going to attempt one more try here at swapping out these microphones, and we're hoping that this doesn't. Hopefully, everyone can see that I've moved over here to a stick microphone.
That's a good-looking mic right there.
It certainly is.
Like
DD, of course. One thing that DD is never shy about or short of is doing an amazing job at branding apparel, branding discs, some really good, sharp-looking items that you always find out there, including a triangular mic flag. I've never seen one before.
Yeah, baby. I had nothing to do with that.
Okay, let's talk a little bit preview tomorrow and what you think we're going to see out there.
I haven't really looked at the weather a ton just yet. As of this afternoon, it was supposed to rain some tomorrow morning and then clear out and actually be quite nice by the time the block party rolls around. If it's going to do that, then I'm going to assume that the wind is going to be about the same as today, and so that's going to be the story. The Country Club is much longer than Jones East, and there's many more opportunities to go out of bounds.
All right. So there's. I was just gonna. Oh, go ahead. Let me follow up. There's a question here saying that instead you should be playing next year. Why is it that you aren't out there playing?
Because I'm doing the broadcasting things.
That's my excuse too.
Yeah, I hope to be able to play Pro Worlds this summer. I haven't cleared that with my boss yet. Maybe he's got something to say about that. But yeah, I mean, I would love the opportunity. I'll turn 40 this year, so I am Masters eligible. Played my first Masters tournament earlier this year down in Texas, and without even really thinking about it, my first Masters tournament was on the same course as my first professional tournament, and without really thinking about it, that was also my first advanced tournament as well. Just totally coincidentally, all three on the same course each time I moved to division. So hopefully I'll remember that 10 years from now when I move up to Grandmaster. Hopefully I'm still playing and I can make that happen again.
It seems as if you have obviously a special connection with that. What course was that again?
Jimmy Porter Park in Carrollton, Texas, or as Bobby calls it, Carlton, Texas, as well as Greenbelt Park. It happens. All the tournaments I've played there go back and forth on both of them. The parks right there are right next to the Dynamic Disc Store in Carrollton, so it's a really cool space right there at the parks there.
Awesome. any parting shots that you'd like to share with everyone out there? Maybe something that maybe people couldn't get a feel for by just watching it on the video or just watching the scorecards today. Was there anything else out there that you'd like to share with people?
Um, it's a little difficult to gauge when you see just two after two after two after two on the live scoring. Pars out there today were not gimmies. A lot of the time, we think these guys, it's like the PGA commercials. These guys are good. I mean, these guys are incredible. And so, for the fact that you can look at the live scoring, and it seems like 75% of the scores are birdies, that goes to show you how good they are, because those holes are not easy holes, especially given the conditions. You have to throw two excellent shots in order to be able to hit your birdie putts, and they did it over and over and over on a lot of those holes.
All right. Well, we are going to let you get out of here. We're going to catch up with Kyle Webster, one of the hottest rounds of the day. We're also going to have one more attempt at an audio check. We think we maybe even our Smashies have nailed it down as to what the issue is. And we're going to give one more audio check. And we look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow, pal.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you for everything.
Kyle Webster, one of the hottest rounds of the day, one of the hottest players of the day also.
Damn.
All right. I'm thinking we're good to go. Welcome to the show. Without any interruption or challenges here whatsoever, we have Kyle Webster that's joined us. Kyle, talk a little bit about your amazing round today.
Wow, amazing. It was a really fun day out there, playing in the rain out at East, one of my favorite courses of all time, Jones.
Blasphemy. It was not a really fun day out there. Be serious with us.
I'm being serious. I had a good time out there today, and I really think that was what benefited me overall. I had a really good caddy on my bag today, Chris Smith. He's a local guy from Wichita, Kansas. He's one of my buddies, and he carried my bag today, and he helped me keep my head down, and we played with a smile on my face, smile on his face, and just didn't care what happened. I kept telling everybody all day that I was going to be shooting a 52. I'm shooting a 52. I'm shooting a 52. Didn't even know what my score was. Came in with a 53, so I was on track. So,
Well, many players will tell you that when they shoot their best rounds, score's not even a concern. They're not thinking about what they're at, how many under par they are, how many birdies they've got in a row. Usually those types of things they say never even enter their mind. So it sounds like you were in that frame of mind today. How did you mentally prepare yourself for the rain, the wind, and even the delays? How did you deal with all those things?
I went out to the course yesterday, and I really prepared beforehand. I knew that the weather was going to be bad, so Chris and we hit the course early. After the round yesterday, actually, we hit the course and practiced every hole, and he took notes for me. Recorded every single disc I threw all day long and recorded why I liked it and why I didn't like it. And then today all I had to do was just refer to that list, and I just made adjustments based on the rain or the wind, and it really came in handy today. So I was just really prepared, I felt. Stayed dry all day, too.
Staying dry is key. Some players talked about having a caddy. Cam Todd had the hottest round on the card we followed, and somebody had pointed out that he didn't have a caddy. His wife, Leslie, was with him for the first few holes, but then she had peeled off at one point. How much help was that, not just for your preparation, but in terms of just staying in the moment and having all the tools and the dryness that you needed?
The dryness was a big deal. I normally don't dry off any Frisbees when I play in the rain. I keep them all wet because it's a consistent feeling compared to trying to dry them off every hole. It's just way easier just to let them be wet, but with the caddy helping me out under the umbrella all day long, we both stayed under the umbrella, had it on the bag. I stayed behind him, and literally before every shot, I was just under the umbrella talking to him about every shot. Said, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Cool. I stayed under the umbrella till I was ready, went out there and threw, and I came back.
Now, what I really need to know is, did you overrule him, or did he overrule you at any point in your decision-making process out there?
He overruled me quite a few times. I told him, I was more of just, what do you think about this? And I was really trying to, I want to do this. And he was like, you don't want to make a putt from those trees, do you? And I was like, you're right. I'll just play this one safe. So it worked out in my favor. It was a pretty clean day. I had a 5 and 3/4s, and then the rest were 2s and 3s. So.
Well, and that was going to be my next question is, do you feel like there was a highlight? Do you feel like there was something that really stood out to you as, this was going to be a great day, or this was going to be a great round, and something that you feel like, really resonated with you?
Well, I think right off the gate, I parked hole 1 with a sidearm into a right to left crosswind. And that was a hole I didn't expect on birdieing for the day. I was just going to play for the 3 and move on, and I parked it with a really good aggressive drive, and it felt good. I got the next hole 2, And then that felt really good, but it really didn't kick in until after the long wait before hole 9. We were waiting in the pavilion for hole 9, and the weather was coming out. It was getting cold and windy, and I just did my best to stay dry, and I kept practice swinging with the towel, keeping my form down, and went on to hole 9 to take a par on hole 9 after scrambling, and then I just started birdieing holes. I just put the gas on the pedal, and I told myself I could birdie all these holes, even in the rain. So.
Well, we saw Ricky Wysocki start out really hot. He was definitely en route to an amazing round, and it seems as if after one of the backups and we got to the large one on hole 9, things just unfortunately just kind of came unfolded for him there. You've been on tour this year. You've taken to it pretty much full time. You're touring around with good buddy Zachariah Johnson. And what are some of your plans here for 2016?
Well, like you said, Westside Discs, they put me on the road this year. They put a lot of faith in me to be their player on the road, the team captain of Westside Discs this year. And so I'm really enjoying that. Thank you to Westside Discs for that. And like I said, touring with Zach is just a lot of fun. We're not taking it for granted. We're having a good time, but we're trying to be serious out there and compete and just do what we love and do it well. That's what our goal is, really.
And so tell us a little bit about where you were going into the round today and now what position you're going to be sitting in for tomorrow and what you're most looking forward to.
Well, I think I was sitting around 40th place going into today, and there was a lot of ties above me, so that pushed me quite a bit down the leaderboard. But I finished today top of second card, so that put me in fifth place, and I'm excited to play Country Club, and I think it's going to be filmed tomorrow, and I always love playing on camera. That's always fun, and I have a pretty good card with some good guys, so I'm just excited to play tomorrow. I love Emporia, so I'm just glad to be here.
Well, you definitely performed really well out there, and anytime you can move yourself 40 spots at any tournament, I don't care if you're playing in a 50-person tournament or a 250-person tournament, anytime you can move yourself roughly 35 to 40 spots in a single round means you did a lot of things right out there.
Well, I appreciate it, Terry. Like I said, it was a team effort. 3 of us out there, the Frisbees, me and my caddy, so everybody worked well together, and it turned out to be a pretty good day. So.
All right. Now, if I recall, you have a pretty amazing girlfriend that's out there that's probably supporting, maybe watching you right now. Anything you need to say?
Oh, Audrey, I love you. Everything you do is awesome. You're my best friend, and you're really supportive, and you crack me up, and you crack up everybody else. So I appreciate it. I can't wait to see you this weekend.
All right. Well, I see her out there on Facebook. The two of you guys are. Is it Mr. and Mrs. Schmoopy? Is that what you guys go by? You guys have a good time out on Facebook, and it must be great to have a loving, supportive girlfriend that supports disc golf and plays herself. It's great to see the support she gives you, and like you said, I'm sure you're glad to see her. So best of luck to you out there tomorrow. We got 18 more holes to go. Give everyone out there your final parting shots, as we like to say.
Hey guys, tune in tomorrow to catch the final round. Appreciate all the supporting Westside Discs, Hand Eye Supply Company, Fossa Disc Golf, and MD Disc Golf out of Kansas. I just appreciate everybody, and I hope you enjoy tomorrow.
All right, try to get some sleep. You had a big day today, and we're looking forward to a big, solid finish from you tomorrow. So try and get some good sleep.
Thanks, Terry.
All right.
For having me.
Yep, no problem. All right, that is Kyle Webster. He came in out of this entire massive field here at the Glassblown Open. He came in with the hottest round of the day. Very impressive getting it done out there. And I'm guessing he stayed even more dry than me.
Did I hear that he said it was an enjoyable day out there? That's like the first thing. After I heard that, I went to the bar, and there's no way. It did not look enjoyable.
Trust me, I would. I said blasphemy. I'm not sure that he knew exactly what he was talking about. But you find when people say that, usually the winner of a tournament, one of the first things they say is, "Oh, I had a really good time." And I always think, well, of course you did, because winning's always fun. But when you shoot the hottest round in the tournament in this really solid field, of course he's having fun out there. Now, I know things are wrapping up here at the putting competition as we're just, finding our groove. But what did you see going on out there?
Well, no surprise. Jay Redding again makes the finals. He does every year. He's known as one of the best putters in the world. So I saw that. I was watching George Smith. I believe George also made it. I can't guarantee that, but it looked like he was doing really well. He was hitting them from all over. So the other people's names I didn't really catch. It was kind of difficult. So.
All right. Well, I'd like to give a brief update. We saw him check in and check right back out. That's Simon Lizotte. We mentioned it earlier in the broadcast today. He, in fact, did move off the course. He went to what we heard was some type of a clinic or emergency room or pharmacy or something of that nature to try and get a prescription. I know earlier in the day he posted saying that he was looking for penicillin, so he has not been feeling well, as many of you guys already know. And he's said today he wasn't even sure if he was going to make it through the entire round, but he left during the round. He came back. He finished out his round. I think a little bit of my semi-amazing research found him in 21st place or something, somewhere around there for going into tomorrow.
Did he actually miss a hole or not? Someone had said he did, but I couldn't verify that, and he was in and out so fast.
I will admit there was just an unbelievable amount of rumors swirling around, kind of like the wind today. So I don't believe that he had missed any holes. I'm looking at his scorecard right now. He had actually a relatively boring round per se, and that he had what looks to be 4 birdies and just 2 bogeys. So shot a round of 60. Again, somewhat uneventful in that. 4 birdies, 2 bogeys. I don't know if you do the math on that. I think that means 12 pars. And Simon's still in it. I know he's staying in a hotel room just a few rooms down from us. And when he ended the putting competition, he said that I was going to have him step in and talk to us. He's like, no, I'm sick and I'm going to get out of here. So he seems to be doing okay at the moment in terms he's up and walking around and functional. Came for the putting prelims, but he's going to be heading out. And we hope him and wish him the best for tomorrow. Hopefully everything comes out all right.
Yeah, I don't really have much else. I think they're going to stay open here for a little bit longer. Someone's yelling that they need their keys from over there, so I don't know if looks like he's going to run over and get it. So Scott Reek is running the place. Scott, do you want to stop in just for a couple seconds and let us know how things went? We've got Scott Reek, who used to be a Dynamic Disc employee, I believe, and now he is living in Kansas City, but still helping out quite a bit. He's, the past 2 years for sure, has run the putting contest, and he did it again. Do you happen to know who all made the finals, Scott?
Matt Dollar, Matt Bell, Jay Redding, and George Smith in the Open, and I don't remember the AM off the top of my head.
Okay, there we go. I was right with George Smith and, of course, Yeti. But was there anything different this year? Did you notice anything? I mean, it's the exact same setup. We saw some of the same people. Well, Jay is the same person as last year. I don't believe, was George in it last year?
No. Yeti is the only one who's repeated from last year, and Yeti is the one who won it last year.
Okay, so
Defending champion.
he is the defending champion. He won it last year against Nico. In that, also, I believe the video footage is out there. You put that out from last year, Terry, and there was some. Remember last year there was a crazy incident with a gentleman who was acting a little silly. He was, I believe he was a hearing impaired person. Thank you. I want to say almost unable, but hearing impaired person. So what else do we have? I mean, this was a long, grueling day, and this is the kind of thing you get when you rush and we don't get a chance to set up. But what are your final parting shots?
Well, they're not quite parting yet. Some of the things that I wanted to recap real briefly is go ahead and I'm going to read through the top 10 or so players that we're seeing. It looks like it's actually going to be the top 13 players. We have, and these are all thanks to the PDGA, of course, out on pdga.com. You can go out and find them there. But Paul McBeth and Cameron Todd are, in fact, tied at 102. They're going to be teeing off at 2:30 tomorrow. We're going to be covering them. Joining them on the leader card will be Ricky Wysocki and Nate Wygren. Nate, I know, has been a Team Legacy player in the past. He's representing with his 982 rating. He had gone out and played a ton of tournaments a number of years ago. I think he may have set a record at one point. I believe we talked about him here on Smashbox. So, again, McBeth, Cameron Todd, Ricky Wysocki, Nate Wygren, those are going to be your leader card, featured leader card tomorrow that we're going to be covering starting at 2:30 p.m. And then we just caught up with Kyle Webster. He's going to be joined by Miles Seaborn, Jared Roan, and Eagle McMahon. So those will be rounding out the second card. And on the third card, we see Zach Melton, Eric McCabe, Nico LaCastro, and Devin Owens. So that's going to be your 210 group out at the Country Club. So to give everyone an update there, I would also like to real briefly talk about, we caught up during the round with both Paige Pierce as well as Katrina Allen. Katrina has a sizable lead. She's sitting at 6 under par. She has been just crushing out there. She's 6 under par in the lead by 9 strokes over Paige Pierce, sitting at 5 over par is Paige Bjerkes, and then rounding out the leader card on the women's side is going to be Des Redding. She's sitting at 8 over par. So again, Katrina at 6 under, Paige Pierce at +3, Bjerkes at +5, and Des Redding at +8. So it should be exciting on the women's side of things. Johnny McRae, Patrick Brown, Chris Smith, and Brian Schweberger leading all in the Masters division, or I should say all respectively. Your top 4 in the Masters divisions, no surprises there. And Layman Gray, Michael Williams, Roger Reyes, and Mitch McClellan sitting on top of the Grandmaster leaderboard, along with Michael Rayleigh. So those are some of your top pro scores. There are dozens of divisions, maybe I'll say here, so I can't read through all of them for you. But from the professional side of things, those are most of your scores.
Was there anyone in the Open division that surprised you that's up there? And it shouldn't be a surprise, but we did see Emac up there, local, knows the courses, helped out quite a bit, but has said himself that his priorities aren't golf anymore.
Not really. Emac is obviously a solid player. Some people think of him, of course, as the 2010 world champ. Some people think of him as Mr. Dynamic Disc. Some people think of, really just think of his dog. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons to think of Emac. Some people just refer to him as, half of Disc Golf Answer Man. He wears a lot of different hats. And
the better half or the worse half?
Well, it depends who's watching right now. But, Emac is a very diverse guy, but he's an ambassador, and he's definitely led more into that role or transitioned into that role. But clearly, he's showing that he can go out and play some great golf. He was out there battling the conditions this weekend, and I expect a solid finish out of him out at the Country Club tomorrow as well.
How many back is he? Oh, did you close that already?
No, I got more.
Oh, you got more. You got more. So Emac is actually only. Okay, you had it there and you took it away.
I have it again for you.
Okay, so Emac's only 4 back. So really, it's anyone's game from the top 3 cards.
Yeah, it's incredibly tight. You're looking at, again, 102 is the leader, and then when you go down to even 20th place, we'll say right around where Kale Leviska is sitting, he's just 5 back or 6 back at 107, 108, somewhere in that neighborhood. So anyone in the top 4 or 5 cards, if they were to have an incredibly hot round, or if the conditions were to get crazy again tomorrow, somebody could make a huge jump. We talked with Kyle Webster. He said he jumped nearly 40 places in a single round of golf. That doesn't happen too often, but when you put together, the best round out there, and Jared Roan, he would have found himself sitting tied for second place had, the scoring error had not taken place. So he's sitting at 105 right now and would have been at 103. So not too many crazy surprises out there. Everyone that's on top is a solid player. Nate Wygren being the lowest rated at 982, but everyone else that's up on top is just about where you would expect them to be. Awesome.
That's quite a lot of info, and that's normally something we leave up to Dana, but because Dana was he was slacking this week in coming to the GBO. He's got busy family stuff. I chatted with him earlier today. We went back and forth regarding the broadcast and how things were going, and he wished us nothing but the best.
And we miss our good buddy Dana Vici, of course. He's at home with his amazing wife, Ashley, and his little daughter, Edith. So, Dana, good to see you, buddy. We're always missing you here. We're missing some of our other good friends and smashies of the show. But it's been a really good time here overall, and we're hoping for a strong finish tomorrow. Have you looked at the weather at all for what we might see tomorrow?
Earlier today, I did look at the weather, and it looked like tomorrow morning. I feel really bad for people that have to finish up in the morning because tomorrow morning doesn't look like fun. It looks like it's supposed to be wet and rainy and then clear up around 11 or so and then be probably just mostly cloudy for the rest of the day. But we should avoid the weather as far as wetness tomorrow. Maybe just some wind and some gray skies.
One thing that people are asking about on the board, including where's Eric Oakley. Some people have said, where's Sarah Hokum? Sarah Hokum actually withdrew the day before the tournament started. I know that she's been battling a couple different things. However, she did withdraw, so she's not competing this weekend. She didn't even start. Another competitor that we mentioned briefly was in that David Felberg hadn't started. Dave's battling an issue. I believe there's a talk of a shoulder surgery. say that 10 times fast, shoulder surgery. And so Dave is not competing this weekend as well.
Dave will actually be joining us tomorrow for a few minutes on the broadcast. He asked if he could stop in and just talk about some things that Latitude has going on, and I told him anytime, just walk up to Terry, shake him, and grab the mic.
Maybe one that works. So, yeah, we'll catch up with Dave certainly tomorrow night. We're going to be able to get things set up and bring you guys action from the block party. We're going to check in with a number of different competitors that will be able to stop in and to visit with us. So we're excited about that. Hopefully we have a little bit more time. So to answer, where's Eric Oakley? Why isn't he here? Eric, like myself, got done sometime after 8 p.m. is when this round wrapped up today. Sometime after 8 p.m. He was cold, wet, rainy, probably hungry, all of those things. And like me and our crew, our camera crew, Gary and Joe, we rushed back to the hotel. We really just changed clothes, put on a fresh set of clothes, and rushed down here. So Eric is probably relaxing. He's probably sitting under a towel or wrapped up in a towel at the moment because it was a really miserable day out there. I don't think I can really stress enough to you guys just how miserable it was.
Yeah, like I said earlier, there's a few times I envy you being out on the course and being able to enjoy the weather, enjoy the players. This weekend hasn't been it so far.
And maybe I even misunderstood you guys. I apologize. Where's Eric Oakley? We talked briefly with Kyle Webster. He is actually now tied with Zach Newhouse. I'm sorry, I had the conversation with Dixon. Oakley and Newhouse, who shot together today on the leader card, they had fallen back. They shot a 64 and a 65, so they have fallen back to, I believe, tied for 29th place. So to answer your questions, if that's where you're going with it, thank you guys. Looks like they are at a total of 110. Have a combined total of 110 after their 2 rounds, shooting 64s and 65s. And, kind of funny, they're playing together tomorrow. So they were on the leader card. I know they wish they were still playing together on the leader card, but they will still play together tomorrow.
All right. Do we have anything else we need to discuss? Do we have, I was going to say, is there anything right now, as we know, the poker's going on at the country club. Putting, obviously, as you can hear, or you can't hear anymore, thankfully, has finished up. And it's still raining outside.
Yeah, we had gone out there to look for a little bit of the equipment to try and get everything set up here for the podcast tonight. And at one point I came in, and it was just kind of sprinkling when I first got here. And then I had to go back out for other things, and it was just a torrential downpour. And what that really speaks to is the constant weather that's changing every 10 minutes. And that's exactly the way it was during the round. As soon as we get the umbrella packed up and, get the wrap on the umbrella, 5 minutes later, you were just scurrying around to try and get it unzipped so that you could bring it back out. So that was kind of a theme throughout the day. We would certainly love to throw it out. We got a lot of people watching, which we're really glad to hear. This seems to be one of our larger crowds that's joined in. If you guys have questions, if you have things that you'd like to bring up with us, we'll do our best to go ahead and address them. As Johnny V just said, the poker, which is obviously a very popular portion of the GBO week, is taking place out at the country club. Depending on when we get out of here, I may venture out there just to kind of see what's going on. Last year I didn't get a chance to check it out. Talk about poker strategy, I will reference. Paige Pierce interviewed with us earlier during the round on the backup on hole 9, and she said that she was thinking about going to the poker, and then she followed up by saying, well, I don't think Ricky's going to get to the poker in time, so I'm definitely going. So she knows that Ricky's a good poker player. I know Paige is as well, so Paige is enjoying some time out there. Forecast for tomorrow, like Johnny was just saying, looks like maybe a little bit of rain, a little bit of this stuff left over for in the morning. We did check, and I think we saw possibly even sunny and 65 in the afternoon. So we'll see how that goes down.
Yeah, I'm looking at weather.com right now, and we're looking at a nice plug for them. It's supposed to be high of about 64 degrees and partly sunny tomorrow, and it looks like, and now it's looking like the rain should end about 6:30 in the morning. So that's good for all those competitors that have to go out at 7:30 in the morning.
Well, and that's one of the conversations that we touched on briefly with Dixon, I believe, is that some of the players have to get up. They have to be out at the course at 7:30, depending on where they were. Check with the PDGA.com, check the GBO website, check the GBO app. Those are all different reference points that you can make as to where you need to be and at what time you need to be there. So make sure you stay on top of that so you know where you're going. And I don't envy anyone that has to get back up and go out in the morning. What would really be unfortunate about that situation is if you had to go home early because of rain and then go back out and it's still raining. So hopefully it clears by the time people hit the course in the morning.
Yeah, we're looking forward to actually having maybe some sun for the first time since we've started broadcasting. That would be spectacular out here. The weather has not been our friend. Last year we were blessed with some pretty good weather, and this year we're just we're struggling to get through these rounds. Today was probably the longest round we've ever recorded.
It was certainly close. I know last year as we wrapped up the final round at the USDGC, that was an incredibly long and challenging round. It was wet, and we were fighting darkness there. Today, maybe there were some similarities. We'll definitely say that. It was definitely cold. Shad Schaefer asked, what's your thoughts on them potentially not having intermediate play their third round if Olpe is in unsafe condition? I hate to say it, but that just might be a matter of fact, a fact of the matter. It's just maybe one of those really crazy circumstances where if you don't want to put anyone in harm's way, you don't want anyone going out there breaking a leg or slipping in water or falling on their face or anything like that. And I haven't seen the course, but if the powers that be are going to deem that unplayable or unsafe, clearly you don't want anyone to go out there and have a less than desirable outcome. Thankfully, and I thought this earlier today, the GBO, the Glass Blown Open, is so much of just an experience, and there's so many things going on. And of course, you're here to play golf, but hopefully, you got to take in, the putting competition. You got to take in you get to take in the players' party. You get to take in the block party, the Swedish bonfire, the stamping of your own disc, the outrageous players pack. Hopefully all of those things, so that if something like the golf at the very bitter end doesn't shake out, it's certainly not a complete loss. There's a lot of good things here.
No, and I will say this. I did hear a rumor that Olpe is looking like it's going to be playable. They said that they talked to the Parks Department and that they think that by tomorrow things should be better, but it is going to be a determination call to either tomorrow morning. I believe at 6:30 they said the Parks is going to go out there again. The Parks are going to go out there again and verify that. But I've heard rumors that it should be good. But again, glassblownopen.com. Follow the tweets, follow the website, follow the app. If you don't have the app, download it. And that'll give you all of that information.
Yeah, Bobby Brown and the rest of the crew, the media crew, have done such a fantastic job of keeping everyone updated. When you're talking about nearly 1,200 people and trying to get them on the same page, I don't know if you can get anybody on the same page. Sometimes wrangling up 10 people to know what's going on. But when you're talking about that many people, that's where it's so critical that you're checking out the website, you're checking out the app, and again, referencing the PDGA.com. I have to talk about Media Marty Gregoire, as well as Michael Downs, our events and tour events manager. They were out there today, fully suited up in rain gear and doing their best to get the scores updated, to do all of those different types of things, and just to help the tournament along in these really adverse and horrible conditions. So, again, huge shout out to the PDGA and the rest of the staff that makes things all possible out here. Johnny, when we head out tomorrow and we get to take in this final round, we just talked about who we saw on the lead card. Do you personally have any thoughts, any predictions, anything that you're thinking as we see this final round unfold?
I'm probably going to be sitting there thinking, when is Paul going to put the hammer down? Because we saw him have a rough first round. It looks like he turned it on second round, clearly to jump up from the fourth card to the top card. So most of the time that's what I'm thinking when I'm watching Paul McBeth. Just when's he going to put that final nail in the coffin for everybody else? And usually it's that it's that dagger of a 60-footer that everyone walks up and thinks, is this going to be the Macbeth moment? Kind of like the GBO moment. This is going to be the Macbeth moment where he just he deflates the competitors.
Well, and what I will be excited to see is there's obviously been a lot of talk about the New York Times article, and now it's a few months old, but it's going to resonate throughout the entire year. You had Paul Macbeth talking about his relationship and the competitiveness that takes place with both him as well as Will Schustrick and others, and he's talked about kind of going head to head with Ricky, and he feels like if he can, to put his quote really in context where he was talking about playing against Ricky, he was saying just that when it comes down to pressure situations, he feels like Ricky is more likely to crack under those pressure situations, and Macbeth more often than not has in fact got the best of him. So we'll see them going head to head tomorrow on that leader card, and I think that's we see Paul, we see Wysocki, we see Schustrick, we see those guys battling it out, and this is just another stage to be set to have those two go head to head, and there's no ruling out Cam Todd or Nate Weiger, and there's no ruling any of those guys out, but I think most of the world right now is sitting back kind of just on the edge of their seat saying what's going to unfold between Wysocki and Macbeth.
Yeah, definitely. And just to put it into perspective, what type of person Wysocki is, he almost beat me here to the putting competition. I came walking in, got enough time to set up, and literally a couple feet behind me was Ricky. So he must have gone right from the course to here to do the putting competition. Now, he didn't putt well. Will Schustrick didn't show up. Ulibarri came up and just put up, I think, 6 points out of like 35. These top pros that were out there, they struggled here at the putting competition. Jay said that when the delay hit for him, he only had 2 holes to go, so he's had time to recover and recuperate. But Ricky coming out here for the putting competition after a round like that, you got to wonder what he's thinking.
Well, what I always see in both Ulibarri and Wysocki is what you just said. The competitiveness. They would argue about who could catch more raindrops in their mouth. And everything they do, they're always out there. They're competing to the fullest. They're always entertaining. Sometimes there's some side wagers on it, but they're always out there pushing one another. And I think that just unfolds in every different facet, no matter what it is.
Would it surprise you if we went over to the country club and saw Ricky there trying to get a second buy-in?
It wouldn't. I know Ricky enjoys his poker. I know he's a good card player, as is Yuli. And so it wouldn't surprise me if they were somehow trying to still get in on that action. Do you have any idea off the top of your head as to how many people were over there in the cards? Okay.
No, not at all.
Well, maybe it sounds like we need to do a little more recon out there and see what we can find out. But we're glad that you guys are here. I'm seeing a few of the questions rolling off the board. Some people are actually talking about how Paul struggled sometimes in adverse conditions. You look back at one of the few times where Paul was actually sitting either tied for the lead or in the outright lead, and that was at the Vibram last year. And when it was all, when everything unfolded, he was bested out there at Vibram, so that is certainly has been brought to light. I can certainly hear that.
Do you think there's any extra pressure on Ricky for knowing that everyone is going to be watching the Macbeth-Wysocki matchup, regardless of whether they're winning or losing, knowing that now that it's been put out in public, Ricky's, we'll say, struggle with those pressure situations. And does the country club have any hay bale holes?
It does not that I know of, and I have been told that actually hole 18 is no longer the island hole to finish on, or the peninsula hole, I guess technically it would be. So I have been informed of that. I think EMAC was telling me that's now hole number 16. So there's been a slight shift in the hole numbering out there. But 16 or, hole 16 at Country Club, or 17 at USDGC, or 17 at the European Masters, whatever it is.
He's truly struggled on island holes.
Yeah, so we'll see how that unfolds for sure. It will be exciting out there. There was talk about the weather conditions, what it did to the course out there. I know I saw Dr. Rick Volks out there yesterday, he said, and the rain has impacted everyone. I don't think there's any good that rain can do for anyone out here.
No, none of us have gardens that we're looking for rain.
Conversation, I apologize. I don't know as to the format of the poker that's going on, 5-card poker. I'm pretty sure
Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em. That would make sense. When you speak of pressure, though, in terms of if there is any more with Ricky, I think the first point I'd love to make is that Ricky stated in response to Paul talking about him in the way that he did, Ricky stated, Paul's the best player in the world right now. He can say that, and I think that really takes a little bit of reflection and looking at yourself to know, like, right now, Paul has put it up for him, and Ricky doesn't feel offended by it. Ricky states, Paul can say what he wants to because Paul's getting it done. So that's the first thing I think, and this really, when I think of the pressure of it all, Ricky's kind of in his sponsor's hometown, DD, Latitude 64, all based right here in Emporia. Yeah. There's nobody that would like a win bigger or better or more timely right now than Latitude and DD. Obviously, putting on the event the way they are, they're pulling for their players every weekend. But if there's a homecoming or a place to do it, Ricky Wysocki would love to get it done right here in Emporia.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Every year we see a couple of these key events, the Memorial, USDGC, GBO, that those sponsors are pulling for their players, regardless of what anyone says. During the players' meeting, some of you may have caught Jeremy Rusko saying Paul's the best, and Paul's tough to beat, or Paul, he literally used the words unbeatable. I know that's what he said out loud, but deep down he's thinking, oh, man, Ricky, take him down.
Well, and that was exactly referenced the other day. Some people talk about in the Q&A session as to the questions that came in. We want you to go out there and take a look at those. There was some really good just insight that these players are giving when they're talking about things that are a little bit more personal or just things on the course. But certainly go out and check out the Q&A session. Another asset here at the Glassblown Open for people to be able to consume. And if you're not here taking it in, you can certainly watch it online. And speaking of consuming, if you're in the neighborhood, if you're
Brahms again, are we going to Brahms again?
We're gonna have to go somewhere because I haven't eaten, and we all know I don't skip any meals. So, but if you're out at the party tomorrow, if you're here for the block party, please make sure you stop by, say hi. We'd love to talk to you. We love seeing our Smashies out here. We love knowing that there's so many people that are supporting and watching the broadcast in any capacity, including our podcast. So make sure you stop by and say hi. If you drop off a beer while you do it, that's fine.
And maybe bring a mic.
Yeah, or a microphone or some working technology. I would say, out of all things, this is a first tonight, is it not?
It's kind of strange, little technology-wise. Normally, load up the laptop, plug in the mixer, plug the mics, we're good to go. Mixer wasn't working. Broadcast wasn't working out so well. Bandwidth is great. ValueNet, again, has been spectacular for us. And it took a while to figure out, just, forget about it. We're going through the camera. We haven't run into technology difficulty like this in a long time. And I'm thinking about just being a permanent mic man.
You're good at it. Well, you're all right at it.
I'm all right holding it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're okay. Get your mic out of my face. So what is kind of surprising about that, to further your point, though, is we go out in the rain for over 5 hours. Not nearly, over 5 hours.
With new equipment that we rented for this week.
Yeah, so we go out in the rain for over 5 hours. We have two guys doing that. We have myself and Dixon on commentary, and we're sending signals through the internets, the webs, the Verizon data plans, through AT&T data plans. We're doing all of these things, and we do it successfully for the most part for 5 hours. But then we come in, we hook up a few wires, which should be far more consistent, as many of you know. Anytime you can hardwire something, you love to. And yet technology still challenges us. And it's not like we're noobs at this.
No, we're 2 years in, and I'll say this. The program we're using to broadcast right now is a new program, only because the old program wasn't working, and I always have, one of the things I try to be prepared with is always have backups of everything, so in case something fails, you can bring up something else. But it's we had issues with the podcast last night. we're going to call it the Lost Podcast because no one will ever see it again. But tonight to start out with. But I'm glad we finally got things going, and we got a good interview with all the people that joined us.
Yeah, it was great to talk to Kyle Webster. He had a permagrin, as he should. Playing the way that he did today, it was really great to see out there. To answer a few of the questions that have come in, Johnny McRae did in fact play Masters last weekend at the Nick Hyde. He also won Masters before scooting out of town.
Can we get a little real with Johnny McRae? What do you think? He kind of stated now that he's a dominant Masters player, no doubt. He could be easily, or he is a cashing pro every weekend. How much do you think him moving to Masters has been affected by the galleries, the media, all these other things that seem to have gotten under his craw during these rounds?
There's certainly speculation. I can't, I couldn't pinpoint it to say that it's exactly that, but there may be some speculation. I can think back to a year ago at this very event. He was on the leader card. We were out at Jones East where we were today, and Johnny was definitely disturbed and frustrated with some of the media that was running around, and understandable if someone's distracting him. We certainly, have no excuse for it. It's just a matter of how many distractions are there and who's causing them. And thankfully it wasn't, I don't believe that time it was us on Smashbox. But those frustrations and those distractions are far more likely in the top couple cards of the Pro Division and not as much in the Masters divisions. Not that they just simply don't get as much media coverage. Obviously, they're skilled and talented, but without the media coverage there's a lot less to worry about. And so, could that be something that's carried over from the Memorial and some of the backlash that came there? Could it be that he's just feels a little more at home and comfortable right now in the Masters division? It's really tough to say, but we've seen him now. I hate to use the term retreat because I don't want to downplay it, but he has backed off and moved into Masters for the last few events, and I'd have to go online to see if that's where he's going to be playing in a number of other events this year. But if he's going to be at all on the Pro Tour, he's going to be back in the Open division. So we'll have to see what some of his plans are. And if I get a chance to catch up with him, I certainly will, and we'll have to ask as to if he's got kind of what his outlook is.
And speaking of last year's round, this is actually we're at a year anniversary. I believe it was even the second round last year, of Eagle McMahon really becoming a household name. He stepped up on camera and performed, and this is when we really met him last year here at the GBO. He was more of one of those really good local pros that then now has decided to spread his wings. And you like that? Yeah,
I see what you did there.
Thanks. I look for that approval from you, Terry, for those great puns. So it was him spread his wings and start touring nationally. Where is Eagle?
I believe currently Eagle's sitting in 8th place, tied for 8th place, and he's on tour. He's now a high school graduate, which speaks to how young he was last year, and he's out there getting it done. He finished, I believe, 5th last weekend as I was covering the Great Matt Siri event over in Texas, the Nick Hyde. He did great commentary for us on a video blog.
That was really funny, by the way, sitting in there getting to listen to those two go back and forth a bit during that.
Eagle has he's really stepped up his game. I think he's getting more and more into a comfort zone. Last year, maybe I blush a little when he says last year he was still kind of awestruck in being on Smashbox. He used to watch Smashbox. He still does. But he was even a little smitten and a little nervous to be playing in front of, the thousands of viewers that we present and to be interviewed and to have all those things. And now here we are a year later. He's probably out on the board right now, but here we are a year later, and he's a full-blown superstar, and he's still just 18. In fact, he turned 18 just a few weeks ago on our Smashbox broadcast. So he's really growing up with us.
He's like our little kid, really. I mean, if you and I were to have a kid, it would probably be Eagle.
I don't think they would fly. Yeah, no.
I see what you did there. Nice.
Some of the people talking about the vlog that was just released the other day. For those that don't know, and I'll give a quick plug. During the finish of the Nick Hyde, which just wrapped up a few days ago, I had the pleasure of working with Paul McBeth along with Nate Sexton. And in the front 9 of that round, Paul and Nate did the commentary. And then during the final 9+ holes, in the final few holes, I had Eagle McMahon and Simon Lizotte do the commentary. And
there's distinct differences. I'll say that. I mean, you're in a funny position that I'm not in, that Paul and Nate are much more buttoned up and a little more serious. Eagle and Simon are known as jokesters and a little bit more fun-loving. And I've been around Paul and Nate when they have been jokesters and fun. We saw that at the Ledgestone last year, playing a big practical joke on the podcast about, everyone thinking, Macbeth was mad at you and whatnot. And they are fun to be around, but it's a different kind of fun when you get to Simon and Eagle.
Yeah, you can see some of the touring veterans versus the newer guys that may have played into it. And I'll go back briefly here to media. We see Stu Mullenberg is out on the board. Stu Mullenberg, as many of you know, producer of The Flight Record, which is this amazing bound together set of prints that he had done last year. I know he's working on additional ones. If you need one, you can reach out to him directly or myself, as I'm honored to be carrying the product that he's putting together. Stu's been putting together photos. He and a professional assistant are here this week doing what they do, which is putting out some of the best photos in all of disc golf that we've ever seen.
When are we going to see Flight Record Part 2?
That's a good question. I want to say I feel like it's either released or about to be released, and Stu can chime in on the board and talk about it. But one thing, Stu, he had asked how big the gallery would be tomorrow. It could be hundreds, if not in the thousands. And then his second point that he did make out here is he said some of the media needs to be allowed or forgiven in making a few mistakes. And, of course, we try to do everything we can to avoid any, but he does make an interesting point that we're all growing together. The players are out here, they're learning, sport's expanding, and so are we. Johnny V and I have zero media background, and here we are giving you guys live, which is a little bit scary if you think about it.
Wait a minute. Yeah, our GBO moment. Look at these two guys. What was Dynamic Disc thinking?
I'm not sure, but we do appreciate them having some faith in us. But it's true. We're all growing. The sport is still relatively small. You've seen it grow by leaps and bounds in the last 5 or 10 or 20 years. But we grow and we try to improve, and that's what we're doing at Smashbox. That's what DD is trying to do, and all of Trilogy. That's what all of the companies are trying to do, is just to grow and expand and do it as best as that we can. So, and it's an honor to have people like Stu Mullenberg around and The Flight Record and all the other people. I know the Tim Stewart's out here, doing his kind of photography and podcast stuff that he does. There's just so many people involved, and all hands are on deck. So it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of people were talking about the 2 different cameras and the white balance and this and that, and I kind of tried to let everyone know that we have literally 2 different cameras. They're not the same model. Joe Height comes with his much more professional camera than ours, and getting the 2 to match up has been a little bit more difficult than we had hoped. Yes, one of them has a more bluish hue and tint, and the other one is a lot more lush and green. I sat today and I tried to work on it, and as Terry says, we don't really have a lot of media background, so getting that to work has been a little more difficult than I had hoped, but I'm going to work on it again tonight and tomorrow and see if I can get a little bit better, a little bit closer, and we're going to keep plugging away.
Well, and speaking of plugging away, I've got to plug a few of the great assets to our disc golf community that are also out there and are taking part of this. We just talked about Stu and Tim, but I'd also love to mention that Central Coast Disc Golf is out here. They're doing coverage of the Chase card and putting that out for you the next day, which of course is an all-night process. There's nobody that knows that better than I do.
I think Jomez told me he went to bed at 4 a.m. last night to get some sleep to wake up to do it all again.
Well, and again, nobody knows how that goes like I do. So Jomez is out there. They're doing leader card coverage, so they're putting that together in a condensed round. If there's ever been a day where you want to really argue about how great condensed round coverage is, I can understand sitting through our rain delay later may not be something you could, of course, fast forward through it. But having Joe Mez be, and their crew, what they do is amazing. They're putting together leader card action. And
That's not fair. We should make them put a rain delay in theirs.
and then the disc guy is out there. He, I know, was covering the leader card of the women's division, and there's going to be a great battle out there tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that coverage. Normally, I'm able to be a little bit more in tune with what's going on the women's side, but with them teeing at different times and everything else and all the stuff that we're assembling, it's been impossible to keep up on everything. So.
Yeah, someone asked if Smashbox or DGG, the disc golf guy, has a Patreon, and yes, Terry does have a Patreon for his post-produced stuff, similar, what Joe Mez and CCDG do. Smashbox does not have a Patreon because it's not. We don't feel it's appropriate for a Patreon at this point. We may look at one in the future for the podcast, but honestly, we would never. I don't think we'd ever do a Patreon for actual tournament coverage.
Yeah, there's a couple different methods out there, and we're seeing that a number of videographers have taken upon that approach. It was actually Johnny V's suggestion about a year and a half ago for the Disc Golf Guy to create one. So, I'll give myself a shameless plug. Patreon.com/the Disc Golf Guy, cleverly named, I know. You can go out there, and I had a few new subscribers. Nobody's getting rich here. We all know that. Nobody's getting rich at any point. And even if I was getting rich, I don't think the payment per hour would still work out for the amount of hours that we have to put in. So we'd love it. We appreciate it. If you want to support Smashbox, you can also go out to smashbox.tv/support, and you'll find that there's a few different ways to go about it that way. So both Smashbox and the Disc Golf Guy, different but similar. Both have options if you want to support us. Or you could get me a sandwich right now from Jimmy John's at number 11. No tomato.
We'll wander over there right after the podcast. The good thing is, I don't think we're going to need to take a lot of this stuff down. Last year we asked them if we could keep it here, and they said yes, because we're just literally going to go a block down the road for tomorrow's podcast. And it sounds like our camera guys are here now. Sounds like we're going to have good weather for tomorrow's block party, so that's really exciting because earlier in the week it was not looking good.
Well, some of the characters, the real crew, I should say, that have been here today, they're going to step in and wave to everybody. Come on over, guys.
Come on over, guys.
We were just going to photo bomb.
Oh, you could do that as well. These, for those of you that don't know, as we're kind of a four-man crew, it's Terry. Well, we're five this week with Dixon. Terry normally does the commentating. I sit in the dungeon or the closet or wherever I'm hanging out doing the switching of the shows and the graphics. But these guys do a lot of the hard work. These guys are the ones that are getting soaking wet, carrying the cameras, rushing to get shots. You should see some people complain once in a while that our shots are a little shaky. What they don't see is the other shot, the other guy who's running to the next hole practically at times in order to get that in line. So this is Gary to the O and Joe Height. Gary, how is your GBO? What's your GBO moment, or how's your experience been so far?
Other than today, it's been pretty fantastic. Like, Emporia is just an incredible place. A little slice of heaven. It has.
All right, that's good. Gary and Joe have been around the local establishments, checking out all the local eateries and bars, and a couple other places. And they've been having a lot of fun. So, Joe, what have you been enjoying so far?
The food. The food here is really good. I like the barbecue, and the hospitality in this town is incredible.
What's the restaurant you were telling everybody to go to that you absolutely loved?
The Wagon Wheel. It's this tiny little hole in the wall joint that's like all local meat and incredible.
Incredible. That's good. The Wagon Wheel. So if you're in Emporia, check out the Wagon Wheel. I don't know if they're a sponsor like Radius is, but you know what? They will be next year. So
I think you were also talking about Main Street, or was it Main Street Cafe or Diner that we Commercial Street? Yeah, definitely check them out. We visited there. I think you guys made a return visit, so it must have been pretty good.
I've yet to finish an entire breakfast there.
We haven't. I had waffles at the hotel the first night, and today I skipped breakfast and just went right to lunch because I caught up on so much needed sleep. But yeah, you guys. Their doppelgangers are about to take over. No, they're not taking over the
You guys
podcast.
wanna take over the show? You're welcome.
Yeah, we need the technical support.
They said, get these guys out of here.
Yeah, not surprising, because we're actually the last ones here at the Granada, and they're closing up shop. Probably have to clean up. So we are going to wrap this up now that we've given some additional props to our cameramen.
All right. Well, it was much needed, and yeah, these guys were amazing. We said it multiple times throughout the show. Again, Joe Hyatt, Gary to the O, and of course Dixon Jowers. So for those guys, along with everybody at DD, Bobby Brown, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, Disc Golf Answer Man, that guy, Eric McCabe, all those guys. It's been an incredible experience thus far. We're looking forward to tomorrow. Of course, we're 2/3 of the way through the competition. Tomorrow, we're going to bring you the final round out at the Country Club. We've got a great leader card lined up for you, and then we'll be back with our podcast tomorrow night to give you not only the final updates and scores and interviews, but some of that sweet action that we'll find from the block party. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, thanks for tuning in. We'll check you guys out tomorrow when you tune in for the final round, and you can step inside the Smash Box.